Hi, and welcome to another video tutorial. Today we're looking at D functions, and this here is a function that is used in database. And we again doing this because of the 2025 major in paper 4 that has this particular functions being used. Okay, so the D function basically is a domain aggregate function, and this is a special type of function that is used to perform calculations like lookup, sums, count, average, maximum, minimum, etc. And the domain we are referring to here is simply a table or query. So in your database, if you have a set of records that you want to perform a lookup on or do some calculation on, that is retrieving a particular field from a table or a query to do a calculation, then you have to make use of the DLookup. So in summary, the DLookup allows you to retrieve a single value like price, name, etc., and also can be used to perform calculations, okay, or get an information based on a condition. So basically, that is the use of the DLookup. And there are about 7 or so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Now, these lookups are not too different from Excel, right? But it's just that because you are working in database, it has a different way of calling out the same function. All right, so we'll go straight to look at DLookup. So the DLookup function, this is the syntax, right? So you have DLookup, the name of the field that you are interested in, and the next item here is which table has this field, okay? So if I have a field called, for example, price, that price should be found in the products table. And the criteria on which I want to find this price is that I'm interested in the product ID that is equal to 101. Okay. So basically, that is how the DLookup function works. So we're going to go straight into the database that we have already been working on to do this particular question. So the first question we had said that we should bring out the information on the trader ID 20. So what it means is that once you put in a function and you close the database and open it again, you should only have information on that particular trader ID. Is that okay? So to do this, we're going to go to the design view. And in the design view, I'm going to use this text box because that is what needs to hold the first record. So we right click and go to properties. Within the properties data, you make sure data is active and control source. You click on these 3 dots here. Now this brings you straight to the expression builder. Now within the expression builder, what I'm going to do is to type in the formula, so equal to DLookup. So once you begin to type, it pops up and you hit the enter key. So we are interested in the trader ID, okay? So we are interested in the trader ID. And this trader ID can be found in the trader table. So that is the name of the table we can find trader ID in. And the criteria is that we want the trader ID number 20. So trader ID is equal to 20. And basically that's the criteria. And we put this here in a close bracket and click on OK. So if I come to the form view, that should pop up 20. Okay. So we can see 20 there. And it's pulling out the exact record that is related to the trader ID 20 here. Okay. And that is how to do this particular question. So if I save this and close it, and I open it up again, you will notice that we're going to have the same trader ID popping up as we are interested in. Okay, so that is how this is supposed to be solved, because when you close the database and you just have trader ID 20 type there, when you close and open it again, it will not return you to the 20 as a trader ID. It will start from 1. So that is how to do this particular question. The next DLookup we want to visit is the DSum, right? And the DSum basically has a similar syntax like the first one we saw, which is a DLookup. So in terms of the syntax, they are basically the same across. Okay, so we're going to do the DSum on the total sales. So we're going to go to the design view, and within the design view, we're going to send this table slightly to the left, and then we come in here to do the calculation. So we're going to use a text box here and drag open, right? So we're going to use this text box here. So you right click on this text box. So once you click on this three dot, it brings you to the expression builder. So equal to again DSum, all right, enter. And the field we are interested in is called sold for. All right, so I'll type in sold for, and the table that has the sold for is called sales, and the criteria on which we want to add this here is trader ID, and I'm going to use 20. Okay, trader ID 20, and close the bracket. This here will not work, and I'll explain why. So you notice that I'm having an error here. Now, the reason why this is not working is because the field name I use here is not the same as the field name in the table that I'm referencing. So we're going to go to, again, the expression builder. I have my tables here, and so we're going to go to the sales table. So within the sales table, we notice that sold for has space in there, right? So once there's a space in between the field that you want to reference, the best thing to do is to put it in a square bracket. So what you're going to do here is that you bring the square bracket and then bring in a space right there, just as you saw it as a field name, and click on OK. And now let's go to the form view and see if it pops up. All right, so here it is working. Okay, so we're going to go to the layout view and just rename the text box here. So this should be total sales. Okay, and this is the field we are interested in. So we're going to just reduce the size right there. Okay, so this here is total sales as we were asked to do. Okay, now this here is not the same as what we see in the final answer because I'm using a different ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to change this to 1 so that the answer tally with what is on the question paper. So once you change the trader ID here as 20 to 1, I have to do the same thing here from 20 to 1. Okay, because I changed the DLookup value to 1, so I have to do the same for this. Click on OK, and I should get the exact answer I have on the question paper. Now this here is not showing as currency, so we're going to format this to currency by right clicking, going to properties, and on the format we change this here to currency, and that is it. Click on save, and that is the exact answer. Now this here is having hashtag because the field size is too small to hold in this. So we will resize the field here to absorb what we have in the form. So we're going to resize this here so we can see, we're seeing the hashtag because not every information is being displayed. So go back again to the form view and we have the calculation showing right there. Okay. Now we're going to use a DLookup again to do, the DSum to do the next calculation, which is total fees. So here I'm going to do again the text box, drag, and then we right click and go to properties. And again, in the data, you have control source, and then you click on the drop down to open the expression builder equal to DSum bracket open. Okay, so the expression should have a capital DSum right there. Okay, and then we have again the field I'm interested in is called fees, and fees can be found in the sales table. So we put this in sales, and the criteria we want to use here is a trader ID with a number equal to 1. So the trader ID should be 1, and then we close that. Now again, the trader ID can be in a square bracket, okay, just like the fees is in square bracket, and then we click on OK, and again that should work. Okay, so that is the value right there, and this is a text box doing that for us. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back here and then readjust this here. And then again, we go to properties, and then on the format, we change this here to currency and save our answer. Okay, so again, we're going to get that in the right there as we are interested in. Okay, now we have the last thing to do, which is the balance. So with the balance, what you are going to do is to type. So this here is called total fees. Now to get the balance again, we're going to use another text box, and this time around we're going to extend the formula. Now there are two ways to do this. The first approach is to use this DSum here minus that DSum to give your answer, or you can create a query, right? So you create a query to do the difference between these two functions, that is the total fees and the total sales, and then you subtract the answer within the query. Okay, then you can use a DLookup to bring it here, but I'm going to make use of the DSum to do the work. Okay, so to get the difference between the two, we're going to do the total sales minus the total fees, and to do that we're going to use another text box, and this time around I'm going to go again into the property sheet and go to that. It's just easier to type in here, so I'll do D. Okay, so it says D deviation, standard deviation. We're not interested in that. We're doing DSum, and then we open brackets. Okay, so I'm interested in the sold for, so I'll put that in the table. Sold for square brackets, and the table from which we want to retrieve this is a sales table. The criteria is trader ID 1. Okay, so this is the first one. Then you do minus another DSum, right? And this time around we are subtracting the fees. Okay, we're subtracting the fees from that. So we're going to do in bracket sales, which is a table from which we'll find that. And again, the criteria is trader ID 1. Okay, so we need to remember to bring the speech mark, close the bracket, and okay. Right, so if I go and back to the form view, that is the answer. So again, I'm going to go to the design view and change the format to currency right there. Okay, and then we decrease the field size. So all right. So this is how to do DSum and do some subtraction with it. Now, next we're going to look at the other D functions we have here. We have DCount, okay? So we're going to make use of the same fields we have. Then we have DAvg, we have D max, D min. So we're going to do those ones as side issues here, though they are not part of the main exam questions. We've done DSum, we want to look at DCount. So with the DCount, we can go about it this way. You do the field, okay? Then you do the table name and then the criteria, okay? So that is one way to go about it. You want to count the number of fields, okay, that has an ID 1, okay. So we're going to do just that and see the result. So here we go in here, text box, drag in, and then again, right click, go to the property sheet, that there, and then we go to equal to DCount, enter, and we are interested in the field called sales, sold for, sorry. We're interested in a field called sold for. And the sold for can be found in sales. And the criteria is the trader ID 1. Okay, we click on OK. And let's see if it worked. So it gave us 2. Okay. So we notice that in here, the sold for with trader ID 2 is giving us 2 items right there. Okay. So that is how to do how to use a DCount. So I'm just going to relabel this as DCount, right? So again, we do DCount. So that is DCount for this particular field. Next, we want to look at the next one, which is average. So for the average, again, the field name, the name of the table, and then the criteria. So we want to find the average mileage. So to do the average mileage, it means that we're going to use a field name here, which is called mileage. And then we're going to retrieve this here from, again, the table called. So mileage, we're using car sold. So we're going to retrieve it from a query called car sold. And then we're going to use a criteria as trader ID 1 again. So in the design view, we're going to go to forms, and the text box you drag, okay, and then right click, go to properties, and then within the property we click on that 3 dots, and then we're doing DAvg. So DCount, mileage, and this mileage can be found in the table cost in the query called cars underscore sold. Okay, so that is the name of the query we are referencing, and then the criteria here is trader ID is equal to 1 and equal to, and that is giving us the average as 2. Oh, I use count, sorry. So we're doing average. So D average. So the average, that should reflect with this. The average, that should work. So I'm going to go to save. The average should work, and that is it. So that is the average mileage for this year. So that is the average. So I was using count instead of average. So to do the count, we do D and then that, but this is the average. So D AVG, right? So that is the average. The next item we have is dmax, dmin. So we just do those last two. All right, so to do dmax, basically we're going to use the same thing. So drag in here, and then we go to the property sheet, open, right click, so equal to dmax, enter. The field we are interested in is sold for, so brackets, we're doing sold for, okay, and we are interested in the table that is called sales. The trader ID is 1. Now, so basically, of the two sold fors that we have, this is going to retrieve or give us the maximum value. Okay, so this, and let's check if that works, and that is it. So of this sold for values, it is returning the maximum value, which is this here, right there. So that is what we have right there. Okay, and we're going to do the minimum value. So to find the minimum value, we just go through the same procedure. Okay, so 3 dots, so we have dmin, enter. Then we have the field we are interested in again here. We're using again sold for. The table is sales, and the criteria again is trader ID is equal to 1. So again, this will retrieve the minimum value of the two sold for values we have. Okay, and so that is it for this. So this obviously is the minimum value. And so since this here are currencies, I'm just basically going to format this here into currencies. Uh, so that is basically how to make use of the D functions. There are a couple of them, but I mean, I think this is enough for you to have a fair idea of how to make use of the D function. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. I encourage you to hit the subscription button and share the video. So till we meet again, bye-bye.